Gen Z discovers overthrowing their government. This story was a story I really couldn't get enough of, and I'm glad we're covering it this week. It happened last week. Gen Z protesters in Nepal actually overthrew their government over the course of 48 hours and elected an interim prime minister via Discord. If you guys weren't following this, it was insane. It all started with, well, they say it started with social media bans, but it didn't. There was a large-scale perception of any income inequality and corruption, and there was a lot of unrest. And then they instituted social media bans, and the movement expanded. This is the same thing you saw in the Arab Spring in Cairo. The government actually shut down the entire internet during the Arab Spring in Egypt, and then everybody was forced into the square because they couldn't communicate via anything, and it was a tipping point. There was some violence, actually. There were 73 people who were killed in these couple of days. I believe a lot of the unrest really took off after a couple of kids were killed in the early part of the protests. There were like 19 people killed early on, and then it really fired everybody up. On September 9th, the parliament building was set on fire, and the prime minister and some other officials resigned. More than 100,000 users met virtually in their Discord channel to debate, and after discussions and several polls, the members settled on Sushila Karki. She is the interim prime minister. She's the first woman to hold the position. She's a former politician and jurist who had a history of fighting corruption, and they have new elections, I think, in early March. And now the Gen Zers are out in the streets cleaning up after the protests and rebuilding their nation. I have to say, I give a lot of shit to Gen Z, but third world Gen Z is pretty active. They were protesting in Indonesia as well. There were a lot for similar reasons: corruption, income inequality, and it was Gen Z again. I'm not sure if they toppled their government, but I think they did push for some ministers to resign, 5 of the top ministers, and they got some reform because they were mad that all of these government officials were getting like $3,000 a month, which is like 10 times more the average income for anyone. And so a lot of it was like these Nepo babies online showing off their wealth in both Nepal and Indonesia that caused all this unrest. It really caused them to view the income inequality and get furious and take matters into their own hands. If only our Gen Z could get so motivated, but they're too fat.
Don't make me think. I just want to be entertained.
No, I take that back. We don't want that. It is funny, though. This is why Trump is not banning TikTok. I'm convinced of it. This is the only area where Trump is actually acting like a king. He should ban TikTok. This is the most dictator thing he's doing. And all the people calling him a fascist won't call him out on it because they want him to keep TikTok as well. So they're happy to look the other way.
He's illegally keeping TikTok.
Illegally keeping TikTok. I think we should ban it. But now seeing this unrest, I kind of understand why he's keeping it, because he knows Gen Z is gonna. We've talked about this on the show before. It would like encourage them to riot and overthrow the government.
Insurrection!
If our Gen Z rioted, it would just be January 6th, but with furries.